sixth episode of You and I for the Kenai. My name is Aaron Gordon, and today we are here with another great local resource, Leslie Rohr, associated with Love Inc. Leslie, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right, Leslie. I think today we're just going to start with, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I am a retired nurse. My husband and I had the good fortune of being able to come to Alaska many years ago and become property owners, and we finally retired here about 15 years ago. And in that time of early retirement, I needed something to keep myself busy. And volunteering with Love Inc. through my church that we had established with was the first opportunity that came along. And I started as a volunteer in 2007, I think. And then soon went on to their board of directors. And in July of 2010, I became the executive director.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty awesome retirement project. It sounds like a lot of fun.
It has been.
Oh, nice. So, we mentioned Love Inc. here a couple of times, and for some of you that might not know what Love Inc. exactly is, Love Inc. actually stands for Love in the Name of Christ. With that being said, Leslie, if you could tell us just a little bit, how does Love Inc., kind of work? Like, what really is Love Inc.?
Yeah. So, 41 years ago, a young man named Virgil Gulker in the Midwest identified that there were lots of needs in the community and there were lots of different churches. And if you could connect all of those churches together, then needs would be met more efficiently. There wouldn't be duplications of service, and it was community building. Some now 41 years later, this affiliate is 31 years old, and there are, I believe, 130 affiliates across the country now, 27 states.
Wow. Okay.
And 5 in Kenya. So it's a tried and true method of serving your neighbors in need within your community. It's a clearinghouse. We verify needs. We identify what primary needs really are, and then resource them out to either churches or agencies and organizations within the community.
And I thought this was really interesting. An affiliate, when you think of an affiliate, you usually think of a single entity, but an affiliate's made up of a multitude of churches, right? Like it's organizations.
Exactly. And actually, in our affiliate agreement, we have to have at least 6 different denominations represented in our affiliate if there are 6 in your area. So we cover a large geographic area compared to most affiliates in the lower 48. So the 5 in Alaska have large areas. This particular affiliate covers the entire Kenai Peninsula borough. Yeah. And we partner with as many churches who are of the same belief, accepting our statement of faith, our statement on scripture, and the Apostles' Creed. And those are pretty much the requirements for church participation.
Sure. Eric's here as well. Hi, Soldotna, Kenai, Central Peninsula. It sounds like when we look at communities and what communities need, some connection and being involved is definitely one of the first ideas that people look to do when kind of trying to strengthen a community. And it sounds like Love Inc., that's kind of the foundation, really, is connecting different organizations, different resources through like-mindedness of Christ and meeting people where they are. I really like that aspect, and it seems like that's really a critical perspective to take.
It absolutely is. And one of the most rewarding things about Love Inc. and the Clearinghouse, what we do, is being able to identify gaps in services within our community and then reaching out to our church partners to fill those gaps. So other ministries are developed under maybe the umbrella of Love Inc. or in partnership with Love Inc. to fill those gaps. And it really gives our partner churches ownership. And we are an extension of each and every church that participates with us. Love Inc. is not just this building on K Beach or the staff and volunteers who work here. We are the entire community that participates.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned to me earlier, before we actually started the podcast, that a lot of Love Inc.'s work is done by volunteers, like the majority,
Yes,
right?
yes, the majority of our work is done by volunteers. Probably the hardest thing, especially for pastors, is the discernment. When somebody comes to you in what appears to be crisis, and they tell you their story very quickly, and all you're thinking about is meeting that immediate need, the pastors tend to reach in their pocket and take care of the need.
Sure.
When in actuality, that one thing that brought the person to you may not be the biggest need that they have.
Sure.
So sitting down and doing an in-depth interview and then verifying, because unfortunately there are people who are schooled in survival through manipulation and using resources in the community. And so while do some slip through? Absolutely. But the few that slip through are, the good that happens far outweighs that. So having us here is just like I said before, an extension of each and every church. We're able then to say, okay, this is a legitimate need. And while they may have a connection with a particular church, that church may not have the skill set needed to meet that particular need. So we can reach out to another church. And it's not unusual for maybe 3 churches to be involved in helping in a particular situation.
That sounds really like just a neat and really cool approach that you're able to take, because it does seem like, not everybody can serve every purpose, but being able for each person, each organization, each church to kind of take their own strength and meet those needs sounds like a really unique and helpful approach. Just like you wouldn't have it seems like one general practitioner specializing in every single branch of medicine to meet somebody's health needs. And on that same approach, not every church is able to meet every single complex human need.
You're absolutely right. And being able to identify that and say, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. And even if this person is a member of your church, it is okay to let another church who has the ability to meet the need.
Yeah.
And it builds community.
Yeah.
Totally.
Kind of getting everybody involved.
Exactly. And we have, I think one of the best examples that I have is our Christmas outreach. We partner with Birch Ridge Community Church in a program called Share the Love. And they collect donations throughout the year. We collect donations throughout the year. And in the weeks before Christmas, they set up a store. And parents are able to go and shop for their kids. They're usually able to get a toy, a set of clothing, and stocking stuffers. We usually have school supplies and stuff by that time of the year.
For sure.
Kids are needing to replenish school supplies.
Yeah.
So we try and meet all of those needs through the Share the Love. Then we do our Christmas food baskets, and we have other church groups, maybe small groups that want to adopt a family. So we're able to make those connections. And then last year we started our Christmas dinner, and we did it on the 23rd, and it was open to all of our neighbors in need and anybody who wanted to join us. All the food was provided by churches. They were served by churches. There were stockings for every child. We had a story time about the birth of Christ and why we celebrate Christmas. It was a really awesome event. So we had like 78 people attend and 85 volunteers
Wow.
here.
That's
So
really cool. Yeah,
it was
that is
awesome, and such a community event, bringing people together across faith-based lines.
That is super exciting. I mean, just the complete togetherness, it really fires up, a lot of emotions, but it really just, shows a lot of love and shows, your struggling neighbors that there is hope, there is love there, and there is a resource that is absolutely available. How exactly, would someone tap into that resource if, they really want to either get involved or, be a part of it?
So we have a volunteer application, and we ask our volunteers to sign, of course, confidentiality agreement. If they are going to be involved in programs that involve children, we do a more thorough background check. But for general volunteers, just having that application and a letter of reference from either a pastor or a person who knows them well. While the majority of the people who come and volunteer here are people of faith, and we do have some people who may not be actively in their faith walk, and being here helps to get them back into that faith walk, and it's really, it's an extra special part of our ministry.
What are some of the most common services, needs, and resources that Love Inc. both meets and offers?
Okay, so food
Okay.
is probably one of the primary requests.
Sure.
Clothing and gas cards
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
carts cards.
Yeah.
Transportation is a huge issue for our vulnerable population.
Yeah.
And so being able to provide some sort of transportation for clients. And one of the things, I always have to put my little disclaimer in there, for gas cards or car repairs, we require a valid driver's license, proof of insurance, and legal registration on a vehicle.
Sure.
So that we're not encouraging people to drive without all of the legal requirements.
Right. Yeah.
So that is a bit, but if you don't have
Yeah.
all those things, I'll get you a carts card.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll work on getting the other things taken care of. If somebody's been out of work and hasn't been able to make their car insurance payment, I would rather pay a month of car insurance and have them steadily employed.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's so those transportation issues are big. Sometimes people can't afford their copays for their medications.
Sure.
That's a gap ministry that we have. We have a memorial fund that we use strictly for those purposes. Homeless prevention, and it exceeds anything we ever expected.
Sure.
And the population that's being affected is changing. We're now seeing people who were stably employed and had everything they needed. A slope job goes away,
Sure.
and in the first year you go through all your savings.
Yeah.
The second year you sell off all your toys. The third year you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so we're here to help with that in the prevention aspect. Permanent housing placement for those who are literally on the street homeless or living in such substandard housing that, it's really necessary to get them into safe, secure housing.
If people want to tap into the multitude of resources that you were just talking about, all of which, are so vital and so necessary, I took a few psychology courses in college, and one kind of covers this basic idea that we can really only meet certain amount of needs. We have to meet certain needs before we can meet others, and there's kind of that pyramid, it's the hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of
Yes.
Psychology 101. And
Yes.
It sounds like what you talked about is on that base of that hierarchy of Maslow's hierarchy is, I believe, food, your basic biological needs, food and shelter, clothing, ways to really stay alive. And it isn't until you really meet those needs from one perspective is when you can start to pursue some of those needs, such as like some self-esteem and some social support and like some higher cognitive functioning. You really, that these vital needs are so necessary. And it's hard to think like, what is the meaning of life when you're starving? It's hard
Yes.
to contemplate like, how can I love my neighbor when you're so hungry? And it sounds like all those needs that you talked about are so vital and so at the foundation of people's needs. So I just think that's super great that there is a resource in the community on the Central Peninsula here at 4410 K Beach Road that can offer your most vital and important needs. And on the way to meeting those needs, you can also get plugged into some real support and to some real people who are willing to connect with you and show you some love, really.
Absolutely.
If you talked about, if people want to volunteer, if people want to participate, they can fill out an application. There are some requirements to that. I imagine they can swing by 4410 K Beach Road to get an application or online.
Yes. Our volunteer application is not online yet, but our application for services is online. So they can't fill it out online, but they can download it and then send it in. But our volunteer application, you have to come by the office to pick that up.
Okay. So what is your website again? The
It
one
is
that we're using now?
Yes, peninsulaloveinc.org.
And that they can print that off and then fill it out and bring it in?
Yes.
And that's how one would go about tapping into these really awesome resources?
Yes.
And they can they come in to?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So our neighbors in need, and that's one of the coolest things about our location where we are now,
Sure.
is the visibility, accessibility. People are able to come in and we are able to sit down and talk with them, show them love,
Yeah.
accepting them where they're at,
Yeah.
and with no restrictions.
Yeah.
Well, the only restriction is that even in your worst days, you have to be respectful of other people.
Yeah.
And for the most part, our neighbors in need are respectful when they come in. They're very humbled.
Right.
And many are embarrassed, and this is the last place in the world they wanted to be.
Sure.
Didn't want to go to the church, ladies.
Ah.
No. But being able to show them love and replace fear with hope,
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow.
that's huge.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that you can't feel over the phone.
Yeah.
Right.
So having people come into the location is really, I think, a key part of giving them hope for the future.
Yeah, for sure. That's super awesome to me, having a place where you can come in and kind of just take that burden off your shoulders, kind of let that weight go, and really just work on, getting better, like just for yourself, really come in and just letting it all go. Just, putting on the way to God. And
Well, yes, and simple things. Being able to give somebody a shower voucher, or to be able to provide them with a load of laundry to do, makes a big difference.
yeah. So Guys, Love Inc., 4410 K Beach Road. You guys have a phone number, obviously.
We do. It is 907-262-5140.
Before we go, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Sometimes I like to, it's nice to talk about kind of the resources that are available. That's great, how people can come in and get in touch with those. But sometimes, we like stories. We like to hear those personal, stories of things really coming together. Is there any, off the top of your head, I know we didn't talk about this before we recorded or anything, but is there any, stories that you can tell with, about kind of some people coming in and maybe being in a tough spot and Love Inc. meeting those needs, or just some different ways in which fear was replaced with hope? I really liked that line, by the way. That's really just a great line, I think.
So it's been it's been close to 2 years, a year and a half ago. A mom came in here, broken, hooked on meth, pregnant. OCS was going to step in and take kids away.
Sure.
We were able to put her in emergency lodging so kids could stay home with the dad. She got into treatment down at Rainforest. When she got out of treatment, we referred her to Freedom House.
Yeah.
She was
Cool.
Freedom House's first graduate.
Wow.
Her baby was born last October, and he is just a beautiful baby. She and her husband have totally recommitted their lives to their faith walk. And she now volunteers here as my admin assistant.
Awesome.
She is one of many incredible stories that we have. And I can tell you that all but one, I believe now, of my current employees came through our program.
Sure.
That's awesome. That's incredible.
So it's, and I can't hire everybody that goes through the program,
Yeah.
but they have been identified through the program, and their desire to give back to the community what was given to them, love and respect when they came through the door, a sense of hope, and a reason, a purpose for making a change in your life. So when I look at each and every one of my staff and volunteers, I just have this little spot in my heart that goes, oh,
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah.
Because we do love them all.
Yeah. That's an incredible story. Drug addicted, kind of out on that last leg of, what to do next. Obviously full of fear, comes in, gets housing, gets resources to faith-based recovery, continually plugged in, now is employed, has a continuing in her marriage. That sounds like initially a ton of fear replaced with a ton of hope. It really does.
It is. It is.
I think that's awesome.
And I am so excited by her energy
Yeah.
and her love for the Lord and her desire to share that with other people and to say, you don't have to stay where you're at.
Yeah.
There is a way out.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for being with us. This was Love Inc. today at 4410 K Beach Road. Website peninsulaloveinc.org. Just to touch base again, if you want to volunteer and contribute to meeting the needs of the Central Peninsula, you can come in and get a volunteer application and fill that out and continue to support this organization that is building community and meeting people where they are. Or you can, if you are in need of resources such as food or shelter or clothing or hope or love, you can go online to peninsulaloveinc.org, or you can come in to 4410 K Beach Road, and the phone number is
It's 262-5140.
Yeah, thank you guys again for joining us today. come on, get involved, and if you're in need, come in and get some loving. This was Eric Gordon, and Leslie with you and I for the Kenai. We'll see you another time.